for a timestamp. But if you look at this clip right here, let's watch this. Let's watch this right here. So we're going to watch it in full speed. Pow Pow is on her. Pow Pow grabs her hip. And that happens. So we're going to watch it in slow-mo. And again, slow-mo, you can never tell really anything in slow-mo. But it can get us a pause at the right time. So you can see here. So Caitlin's trying to blow by Te Hina Pow Pow. Te Hina Pow Pow is caught in a really weird defensive position where she's playing.
A fresh camera angle now exists that suggests Caitlin Clark never initiated a push-off. Rather, Te Hina seemingly removed herself from the play after grabbing Caitlin Clark. She clutched Clark, overextended, and essentially threw herself out of position. That's what the footage shows. Clark's arm gets seized by Te Hina, and she tries to free herself. Potential contact may have occurred, but this represents some of the most terrible officiating ever witnessed. Failing to call a defensive violation here ranks among the worst missed calls in basketball history. This wasn't merely a hand check, but a full jersey grab. This particular angle makes everything appear considerably worse.
She's forcing nowhere. She's just playing flat. And like normally on someone like Caitlin, normally on a guard that's quick and can burn you, you got to force somewhere. Like Te Hina Pow Pow is not a good enough defender to play flat like this. And she knows that. She got caught. So what does she do? 2 hands on Caitlin Clark's jersey. 2 hands on Caitlin Clark's jersey. Then she goes around the hip. And then continues to grab her jersey. Like,
various comments suggest certain guards outperform Caitlin Clark. Someone mentioned Deja Kelly surpasses Clark's abilities, yet Kelly was recently waived. The timing stamp shows this recording happened just 58 minutes after the tweet at 8. Examining this footage closely, Te Hina defends Clark, grabs her hip, and then the incident happens. Viewing in slow motion allows better analysis. Though slow motion rarely provides complete clarity, it helps freeze the correct moment. Clark attempts to move past Te Hina, who finds herself in an awkward defensive stance, guarding flatly without forcing direction. Typically against quick players who can outrun defenders, forcing a direction is necessary. Te Hina lacks sufficient defensive skills to defend flat like this. Recognizing her mistake, she places both hands on Clark's jersey, wraps around her hip, and continues holding the jersey.
Caitlin is past her. You can see her legs past her. Caitlin is past Te Hina Pow Pow here. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Caitlin is past Te Hina Pow Pow here. No extension. Te Hina Pow Pow is stopping her with her arms. Her arms like this on the jersey, stopping her. And then what ends up happening is, so Caitlin here, Caitlin's already, by the way, taking her hand off Te Hina Pow Pow. She's already past Te Hina Pow Pow. And then
Clark clearly moves past her, evidenced by leg position. No extension occurs initially. Te Hina uses her arms on the jersey to prevent movement. Clark already removed her hand from Te Hina, having passed her before any arm extension happens. A minor arm extension does occur, but very slight. Te Hina's poor defensive positioning causes her right leg movement before contact. She's already removing herself from the play. She overcommits and gets caught. Clark shoots from considerable distance, not an easy attempt regardless.
There is an arm extension. In fairness, there is an arm extension. But a very small arm extension. Like Te Hina Pow Pow, because she's in such bad defensive position, is already, look at where her feet is before the contact. Before Caitlin Clark makes contact, look at what she's doing with her right leg. She's throwing herself out of the play anyway. She's overcommitting to that. And she gets caught. Caitlin shoots from so far back. Oh my God. Like, that's not an easy shot to shoot anyway. But like,
the push-off appears minimal. Te Hina positioned herself poorly, got beaten, and grabbed Clark to prevent a drive to the basket, then overcommitted trying to recover. This doesn't constitute an offensive foul. If any offensive violation occurred, it followed well after the defensive foul. Even without considering the grabbing, the minimal push doesn't warrant an offensive call, particularly when the defender lacks balance. Everyone playing basketball occasionally needs to create minimal arm contact. Defenders similarly create slight contact. The recommendation for Clark, make contact less obvious. Rather than fully extending arms, extend partially. Full extension looks problematic. Partial doesn't. Players jump stopping with limited extension appear powerful, while full extension gets called. Same outcome, different appearance.
There's barely a push-off. Pow Pow was in a bad defensive stance. Caitlin got by her. She hacked. The only reason Caitlin didn't burn her to the basket was because she hacked Caitlin. She then had to overcommit on getting back. It's not It's not an offensive foul. And if it's an offensive foul, the offensive foul comes way after the defensive foul. And I'm going to be honest, like, I don't even know if it's an offensive foul.
The footage clearly shows Clark experiencing contact. This represents a veteran move by Tahina, recognizing poor defensive position early in the quarter and choosing to stop Clark rather than surrender an easy basket. Clark received just one foul call across 2 games despite constant contact. She faces defensive pressure across the entire court. Clark's main issue involves fully extending her arm during minimal contact, creating visual problems, similar to the Walker-Kimbrough incident where she flung her arm backward after getting hit by Ryan Howard. Against the Mystics, she drove past someone, got hit, and swung back hitting someone's face. This arm flailing habit needs addressing. She didn't need full extension there, created no separation from it, and similarly flailed hitting Walker-Kimbrough unnecessarily. She's likely seeking fouls, but officials don't award continuation and won.
Like, even if it wasn't for the hand, I don't think that that's enough of a push-off to call an offensive foul, especially when the defensive player is off balance. I'm sorry. Like, when you are playing basketball, we've all done it. You have to sometimes make a little bit of contact with your arm. Just like as a defender, there's always going to be a little bit of contact there. But one thing I will say with Caitlin Clark is you just make it less obvious. Instead of extending fully, extend to here. Just extend to here. Instead of extending fully with your arms, extend to here. Extend that much instead of fully. That looks bad. That doesn't.
Clark simply gets grabbed and slowed down. People complain about space creation through pushing, but the initial action was defensive contact. Clark barely pushes but fully extends and flails backward with complete disregard for surrounding players. This behavior earned her a technical last season when she fell backward and tapped Walker-Kimbrough. Some officials call offensive fouls for this. Hitting faces regardless of intent results in technical fouls, potentially flagrant twos depending on severity. Backward flailing requires caution. Unless she exaggerates reactions, no calls come her way. As evident from continual grabbing, ideally competent officials would address this, but with present refereeing, offensive play becomes extremely challenging.
So you can always extend a little bit. Like when you see people jump stopping and then kind of extend to here. If you fully extend your arm, it's going to be an offensive foul. If you go with the shoulder and kind of do that and not fully extend, it's a powerful move. It's the same thing, the same outcome. But the difference is extending makes it look worse. So, but yeah, the
video evidence shows what should have been a clear defensive foul. Tahina grabbing Clark's jersey and hip to prevent her from driving to the basket. This wasn't a subtle hand check, but an obvious jersey grab that impeded Clark's movement. The failure to call this represents a fundamental officiating error that affected the game's outcome. What makes this particularly troubling is the reported pattern, Clark receiving only one foul call across 2 games despite facing constant physical contact throughout. This suggests either a systematic blind spot in officiating or potential bias in how certain players are protected or not protected by referees.
It's just a mad play. And the fact that the footage shows that she's getting hacked. She got hacked in this possession. That's not even a foul. That is a, oh crap. I have, this is genuinely a, oh crap. I'm in really bad defensive position. Let me just stop her.
When officials fail to call obvious defensive fouls, it creates a cascade of problems. Players like Clark are forced to play through illegal contact, potentially leading to the arm extensions and reactions that then get called as offensive fouls. This backwards officiating, where the victim of illegal contact gets penalized for their response, undermines the integrity of the game. This incident highlights how poor officiating can fundamentally alter gameplay. When defensive violations go uncalled, it forces offensive players into increasingly difficult situations where any response risks being penalized. The result is games decided by officiating inconsistency rather than athletic performance.
I'm about to get burned, and I'm about to give up a layup. Let me just stop her and take the foul. This is literally this is a vet move by Pow Pow. I have to say, this is a vet move by Pow Pow. This is because it was early in the quarter, I think. This is I just don't want to get beat. Let me take the foul, because that's the best outcome. And, by the way, Caitlin Clark had 1 foul called on her in 2 games. She was getting hacked in both games. And that's the thing, like, she gets hacked 94 feet. She gets hacked 90.
One foul call in Clark's favor across 2 games, despite video evidence of constant grabbing, jersey pulling, and illegal contact. This isn't coincidence, it's a pattern. When footage clearly shows defensive players wrapping around Clark's hip and grabbing her jersey to prevent drives, yet officials consistently look the other way, we're seeing officiating that defies basic basketball principles.
24 feet. They're already lying at pictures where a million comments. And that's the thing where it's like, this angle, there's no question about it. Like, Caitlin, the only problem with Caitlin is I actually think that Caitlin did not make much contact, but because she fully extends the arm, like, she fully extends the arm, I don't even think she barely hits her.
The Fever's recent acquisitions performed terribly. Dana Bonner appeared adequate, Natasha Howard seemed acceptable last week, but Sophie Cunningham's return seems necessary. The game's conclusion proved shocking. Aya made the crucial free throw, the harder second attempt. Kelsey Mitchell misplaced that foul slightly. Mitchell deserves partial blame for poor possession there, but strong performance throughout should allow occasional mistakes during crucial moments. That final play seemed ridiculous.
I'm just so in shock at how that game ended. Like, I don't even mind with Leah hitting the free throw. She hit the harder one. She hit the second one. Kelsey Mitchell was just a little bit off on that foul. And look, at the end of the day, did Kelsey Mitchell have a good possession there for the foul? No. Kelsey Mitchell's definitely at some fault, but like, I don't care. She was great the whole game. I don't care. If you've been great the whole game, you can afford to maybe have a bad possession down the stretch. But like, that last play was comical. It was comical. Like, I don't know what is happening.
The inbound play design raises questions. Stephanie White positioned Caitlin Clark as distraction, but the coaching decisions warrant examination. The play apparently directed Aya Boston toward the low post initially. Lexi Hall cleared toward nowhere. Bree Jones excellently forced Aaliyah across the screen, followed by a back screen. They actually designed the play for Natasha Howard. This represents a standard T-play screen, through for a lob pass. Why design a lob pass to Howard for the winning basket? Kayla wasn't even watching for it. Howard gets blocked, then misses the simple attempt. Using Clark as misdirection seems questionable.
What happened on this end-line play? Like, what their idea of this play was. Like, Stephanie White draws Caitlin Clark up as decoy, and I trust Stephanie White as a coach, that she's trying stuff. Thank you so much for the $10. Hope I come to the All-Star game. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be going to America this summer. Unfortunately, I will not be going to America. But I would love to. I'd love to eventually go to an All-Star game, but I will not be going to America this summer. However, look at this play. So, what are they trying to run? So what I don't understand is, why are they trying to set this screen for Aaliyah Boston to get the ball in the low post? Like, this play is ran for Aaliyah Boston, by the way. So Lexi Hull's just clearing to nowhere. She's clearing to nowhere. Bree Jones does a great job of forcing Aaliyah over the screen. And then it's a back screen. Oh, they ran it for Natasha Howard. They ran the play for Natasha Howard.
Howard had additional time for that shot. Why approach Nia Coffey this way? Time existed for better movement. The coach designed a lob specifically for Howard with Clark passing. Understandably, Clark passes well. However, Howard had missed 8 consecutive free throws. Any foul would likely result in missed attempts. Why not let Dana handle inbound passing with her length? Having Kelsey Mitchell receive the lob seems preferable, despite sounding unusual. Mitchell stood completely open. Mitchell's screens appeared terrible, not genuine screens whatsoever.
That's a backdoor. They ran that play. I thought the play was, nothing's on, so they have to give it to Natasha Howard. They ran the play for Natasha Howard. Oh my god, I didn't realize it's just a normal freaking T play. It's your screen, they come through and you set a freaking a lob pass. Why did she draw a lob play? Why did she draw a lob to Natasha Howard to win the game? Oh my god, she drew a lob. Caitlin's not even looking for it. She drew a lob. Why did she draw a lob? Thank you so much for the $10, Antonio. She drew up a lob play, and then Natasha Howard gets blocked and then just misses that. Like, misses the easy midi. She drew it up for Natasha Howard. Oh my god. Oh my god. Why do we have Caitlin Clark decoy? And by the way,
Better options existed. Mitchell clearing toward the corner, Boston having possession with 9 seconds remaining, getting the ball to Clark with Dana moving cornerward into high pick and roll. Clark advances, Boston makes decisions, pick and roll works consistently. If Boston gets doubled, Mitchell becomes open either corner side or cutting. Similar play design works without featuring Howard. Drawing the decisive play for someone shooting 3 for 7 and 0 for 4 from the line seems questionable. Mitchell guarding Howard resembles Mitchell guarding Ryan Howard. Nonsensical. The game resembles potential manipulation, Clark serving as distraction, Mitchell inexplicably guarding Howard. Everything lacks sense.
like, she had so much more time to hit that shot, and it's not even close. But why didn't Natasha Howard? Why is she going at Nia Coffey like this? She has time. You have time to make a better move than that. But, like, she drew up the play for... Like, anyone who's played ball knows what this play is. It is a lob play. She drew up a lob for Natasha Howard with Caitlin Clark as passer. I understand Caitlin Clark is a passer. But like Natasha Howard, by the way, Natasha Howard has missed 8 free throws in a row. If Natasha Howard got fouled, she was going to miss both. Is she throwing? Like, why?
Perhaps similar to Chuck Daly situations where teams need humbling losses. Howard represents liability with free throws, but exceeds Alyssa Smith defensively. They represent similar players with Howard slightly better. Early game, Howard helped keep Fever competitive, drawing plays, making Clark peripheral, while Howard scores seems absurd. Either coaching resembles Chrissy Sides, reincarnated, or represents experimental strategies. Having this design specifically for Howard appears incredible.
And why is Dewana Bonner just why? Just let Dewana inbound the ball. She's got length. She can throw the pass. Let Dewana inbound the ball. And at least in this play, have Caitlin and Kelsey's role. Have Natasha or have Kelsey Mitchell going for the lob. I know it sounds crazy, but just as decoy. Because look at Kelsey Mitchell here. Kelsey Mitchell's wide open. And by the way, Kelsey Mitchell's the worst screen set I've ever seen. Look at both of these screens from Kelsey Mitchell. That's not a screen. That's definitely not a screen. But like...
Caitlin Clark might be new to her professional journey with the Indiana Fever, but she's already establishing herself as a passionate supporter of the state's broader athletic landscape. During Wednesday evening's matchup, when the Indiana Pacers shocked the New York Knicks in the opening game of the Eastern Conference Finals, Clark felt compelled to express her enthusiasm across social platforms. The Pacers mounted a remarkable comeback from a substantial late-game disadvantage to push the contest into overtime, ultimately prevailing 13-8 at 135 in what became one of this year's most thrilling NBA playoff conclusions. Tyrese Halliburton delivered 31 points alongside 11 assists, while Aaron Nesmith exploded for 30 points, connecting on 8 3-point shots from 9 total attempts. Their decisive contributions enabled Indiana to overcome what seemed like certain defeat for New York, leaving the Madison Square Garden audience in disbelief. Clark, observing the dramatic events, shared a straightforward yet passionate statement on X, previously Twitter, that rapidly gained widespread attention. "Pacers are the greatest comeback team I've ever seen." Her message captured the emotions of Pacers supporters throughout the region, who watched their squad battle back during regulation's closing moments. Following a crucial shot from Halliburton that appeared to secure victory, referees determined his foot touched the boundary line, forcing overtime rather than ending the game in regulation. Unfazed, the Pacers maintained their composure and completed their triumph during the additional period, claiming a 1-0 series advantage away from home. For Clark, this moment transcended mere entertainment. It represented another instance of her rapidly evolving role as a cultural cornerstone in Indiana, connecting the men's and women's professional basketball communities within a state that cherishes the game. Following her selection as the top overall pick by the Indiana Fever this past April, Caitlin Clark has generated fresh enthusiasm and visibility for women's basketball nationwide, particularly throughout Indiana. Her bond with supporters has been instantaneous, and her involvement with the Pacers' postseason journey marks another milestone in her swift assimilation into the state's sporting culture. Wednesday evening's contest showcased an impressive battle between Halliburton and Knicks standout Jalen Brunson, who topped all players with 40. Karl Anthony Towns contributed 35 for New York, yet their efforts proved insufficient against the Pacers, who maintained 51% shooting accuracy and converted 50. The victory carried additional significance, occurring mere hours following Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay's passing, who had shared a final encouraging message for the Pacers earlier that day. This emotional dimension enhanced an already memorable night for Indiana athletics enthusiasts. With the second game set for Friday evening at Madison Square Garden, the Pacers possess momentum and confidence, attributes that Clark, through her own ascent, comprehends thoroughly. Her widespread response to the triumph highlights how closely the state's competitors are supporting each other, generating collective energy that might propel Indiana franchises far into their respective campaigns. While Clark advances through her debut WNBA season, and the Pacers pursue a possible NBA Finals appearance, one element remains clear: basketball is flourishing throughout Indiana, and its prominent figures, both competing and spectating, are ascending in unison. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.